G'day and welcome to another podcast. I'm Scott Poynton and today I have Julien Troussier with me. We've done a few podcasts in the past and we're getting together to introduce you to our new community. It's called The Pond and Julien and I are co-hosts of the community. How are you, Julien?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've been up the mountain today. You're getting into the spirit of connecting with nature before you come to talk to us.
Yeah, I've been up to your favorite mountain just above your home where we are here.
Yeah, La Dole.
La Dole, yeah.
Bit snowy and miserable up there,
Very
was it?
snowy, very miserable, fantastic.
But fantastic.
Epic.
Epic, yeah, good on you. Okay, well, listen, we're here to talk about the pond. Now, and we're going to make a conversation. Typically, when I talk to Julien or anyone else, I start interviewing them. But this is we really just want to have a conversation and use this as an opportunity to share really the thinking behind the pond. And so people listening to this can understand what we're trying to do and maybe think of ways that they can engage and get involved, because that's what we want. We really want people to get engaged. And the strapline for the community is, helping you find calm in chaos. So tell us about that, Julien. Let's open the discussion.
Well, maybe we can start the discussion at the level where, you hear the word pond. Like, what does it evokes for you? Sorry, the French always, it's not my English sometimes and the accent. So what does it evoke for you? And I guess for most people, when you think about a pond, it's a quiet place. It's a humble place. It's a pond is not a lake,
right?
It's not, it's small.
Not a raging river.
No, not a raging river. So usually it's quite calm, and there might be a few things happening on the water and underneath the water. But the first thing is just, at least the image, I think for me, but probably for many people, is that sense of calm, I think, and simplicity. So that speaks a little bit about what I think we want to create with this community, is a place where people can find resources and support that helps them being calm, help them have this feeling of that sitting next to a pond might bring. So that's maybe the start, but then there's underneath that, there's a story as well. And the story is linked to you. So maybe I can ask you this time, I turn things around, is, what is the pond for you?
Yeah, well, the pond is a story in the book that I wrote about my childhood. And the book's called The Magical Appearance of Earthworms. And it's actually, I had to publish it under a pen name, which is N.A. Moncrief. And that was because, just for legal reasons, really, some of the scenes in the book are a bit tricky. And so I had to change the place names and the character names. But yeah, The Magical Appearance of Earthworms. And it's a story of my childhood from my earliest memories up until 3 days, that magical day, 3 days after my 15th birthday, when I listened to an old man on the radio, Richard St. Barb Baker, and he inspired me to take up the cause of forest conservation. He'd been travelling around the world doing that since over his long life. He was 89 years old at the time. This was back in 1979. And it was really that radio broadcast that led me 20 years later to found the TFT, to become a forester, found the TFT and work to try and conserve forests. And you, in fact, were one of the key people that inspired me to write the book, because when I stepped aside as TFT CEO, you said, now it's time to write the story of the TFT. And for me, the story of the TFT was intimately linked with that founding story of me wanting to become a forester. So how did I get to that place? And so The Magical Appearance of Earthworms is that story. And chapter 10 in the book is called The Pond. And it's funny that when I haven't read the book, I haven't looked at the book for a long time, always the story that I first go back to is the pond, because I think it is that place of calm. And it was certainly for me when I was a young lad, when things were going crazy in the world, as they sometimes do for children. You're in trouble for a particular reason, or you just don't understand something, or you just need to go and have a rest. Maybe you had a tough day at school. And so I used to go home from school, get my dogs, and go for this walk. It was probably, I don't know, as a kid it seemed like a fairly long walk, but it wasn't that far away, maybe a couple of kilometres max. And it was this pond next to the railway line and the railway station, which at the time was pretty much unused. So it was a very quiet place and a tiny little pond in the middle of a field. So I'd go down there with my dogs and I'd hop through the fence. The dogs would go and jump and, well, the Labradors, I had 4 dogs, 3 Labradors and a poodle. And And the three labs would go and jump in the water and splash about, cause no end of mayhem for all the little tadpoles and things that were in there and the frogs. And then they'd go off and disappear. And my poodle, only on hot days would he sort of gingerly go in, but he wasn't that keen on it. So he and I used to sit there on the banks of this pond and just take it easy. And the nature would return after the dogs' invasion of the pond, and so the frogs would start croaking again, the weeds would settle, the dragonflies would come back. And I was able to sit there as a young boy, no matter what had happened before I got to that place, and just slow down. And just, I think nature was very much part of it, being with the dogs was very much part of it, but just I think the water was very much part of it. It's very calming. And just being able to sit there and watch the little tadpoles swim around, watch the dragonflies go here, there, bzz, 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 buzzing around everywhere. Of course, I was in Australia, I was surrounded by flies as well, but they were all part of it. And it was just such a fantastic place. It was a sanctuary, really, a sanctuary of calm. And in that place, all of the stresses and strains just melted away. And of course, as kids, we do have stresses and strains, maybe different ones from what we have as adults, maybe not. But it was a place where I could start making sense of the world, because all of the worries and stresses that might have been going on upstairs sort of were able to become quiet upstairs, meaning, in my brain that I was analysing this, analysing that. I was able to turn that off a bit. And so that inner voice, that inner wisdom was able to come and say, what do you think about this? Don't worry that that person said that to you. Don't worry that you had the fight with your brother. Don't worry that this happened at school. Don't worry that your mum was upset with you for something you did. You actually did something stupid. Shouldn't have done that. Oh, yeah, okay. And those discussions were able to come. And so after some time sitting there, everything sort of got resolved. And you could say, right, time to go home now for dinner. Or on the weekends, it was like, okay, time to take the dogs for more of a walk. But that time at the pond was that place of calm amidst all the chaos. And eventually we moved away from that town. And when I went back many years later, first place I went to was to go and see if the pond was still there. And of course, progress had come, progress inverted commas, a house had been built over the pond. And I remember standing there looking at it, and I didn't want to stand there too long because maybe there was people in the house saying, who's this weirdo, looking at our house. But I remembered that pond, and I remember it today as if I'm there now. And I think it's always stayed with me, in times of stress and chaos. It's almost like you can, having had that place, you can navigate your way back there. You can find yourself there, and you can find that stillness and that calm. And then the wisdom starts to come to you. You can quieten your mind, quieten your emotions, and that inner wisdom, that voice can start speaking, and you can start listening to that wisdom and navigating based on that wisdom. What does it say to you? What does it suggest you should think about? And so, yeah, I remember revisiting it and almost thinking, yeah, there's a house on it now, but that pond, that sanctuary, place of sanctuary, I'll never lose it. And I never have. And I remember wondering, I wonder where the little kids go now, because I don't know that anyone else went to the pond, but I certainly did. But everyone needs a pond, I think. Everyone has those moments of chaos in their life, and some more than others, and some are better placed to cope with them than others. But I think everyone can do with that place of sanctuary, where they feel safe, where they can quieten their emotions, all the pain and suffering, the hurt they feel, all of the fears they may have. And that lets you quieten your mind as well. And then that little voice comes from inside and saying, why don't you think about this? Why don't you try that? I might do that. And then you can go forward. So that's what the pond means for me.
Yeah. And I think for me is once you have a physical place, and then your story is in a way how it ends, points towards this, is that the pond is somewhere you can go. It's somewhere you went. And, for me, the sanctuary is different. It's up in the mountains somewhere, but it calls for a sanctuary inside you. So what you experience sitting there, what you experience sitting there at the pond, it opened a sanctuary inside yourself where there is this calm, where this place that can't be touched. It's a sanctuary. So all the drama and the craziness of life and the chaos, and that place is free of that. And so that place can look at what's happening with calm inside you and not be either influenced by others and the emotions of others, but it's the place that's true to you. It's you at the end of the day. It's your center, right? And so when we talk about the pond and we talk about the sanctuary, it's as much of a place you go to. In this case, when we create a community online, yes, it's a place you go to, virtually you go to, but the real purpose is to go to the sanctuary you have in you, because that's unique to you. That's where your wisdom comes from. At least I feel. And in times of great changes, of great chaos like this, it's really where we want to go as much as we can, as often as we can, to say, what do I need to do now? And what is true for me? And but in some ways, if we don't have a space to go to, and we don't have experience it physically, it's hard to connect with it inside ourselves. It's a strange thing, but we need to experience that, a sanctuary in our lives, to go to, so that we can call it inside. At least that's my own experience. That you go there.
Yes,
you go there without physically going there, but you go there and you find that place in you that's this sanctuary, and that no one else can touch.
I agree, and I think this is our goal. It's a maybe a lofty goal, but I think just by talking about these things with people in the online community, the pond, that it might just help people find that journey, find the path themselves. Because, when they're in their job and everything's crazy, or family life is crazy, or both things are crazy, your kids are growing up and they require a lot of attention, and then you go to work and there's no rest there. Maybe, in fact, quite the opposite. It can be really stressful. Getting that moment in your life where you can say, right, hold on, I just need a moment to regather. And so the idea of the Pond online community is to provide that place where people can maybe regather, where they can come to and there's no judgment. No one's asking them to be special. No one's expecting them to be a superstar, a super mom or a super dad or a CEO or a great director or even a really good toilet cleaner, right? It's not about your position. It's about the pressures that come on you in your life. And the idea of the Pond community is to just be a place where people can come and find sanctuary. And through that, we hope that they can find that connection to themselves and their own inner wisdom. How are we going to do that? What are we going to put on there? What's the sort of stuff? We've got a few things there already, but let's maybe, so for our listeners, Julien, they can understand what are they going to find if they come into the pond?
I think many things that hopefully help us reflect on what's happening. That's maybe one thing. So
for example,
it can be articles. It can be podcasts and other things from other people we feel are able to step back from what we're experiencing and saying also what it is for them, like the truth of what they're experiencing, perhaps. People who express this type of non-judgment and compassion and I think the last thing we want is a place where people share opinions.
Right.
Because we hear so many opinions and
there's plenty of other places to get those, right?
So it's not about I am right, this is what we should be doing, or this is what's happening in the world. It's like, okay, what is really truthfully am I experiencing now, and how my own experience might resonate with others or not. Are my struggles or actually my successes, anything really that's present for you. You're able to talk about it and maybe also ask for support. It's like, what do I think about what I just experienced, of what I'm, the pressures I'm experiencing. But
have you experienced those yourself?
Yeah.
What did you do to get through those things?
Yeah.
It's for me, it's less about what people think, isn't it? It's more about what people feel.
Yeah.
What they're feeling in that moment. Mm-hmm. How did you feel? Has anyone else had this experience? And trying to encourage others to jump in and say, yeah, I went through that too. This is what it meant for me, and this is how I navigated out. That's the sort of community where I'm hoping to inspire, right?
Yeah. And so I guess it's two things. It's on one side that you can feel free to say what feels important for you right now. And at the same time, you really feel like there's people listening, not trying to analyze what you're saying or judging what you're saying, but truly listening. And then maybe, answering by saying, this is, what resonates for me, and this has been an experience, but that's my experience, it's not yours.
Mm-hmm. Not giving advice.
Not giving advice, and not trying to fix the person or save the person, but really listening. I hope that can be, the pond is a place where it's a sanctuary also, because your senses are open to, all the animals and things that are there. You're just there, you're present.
Yeah.
You're present. And because of that, you're calm. You don't feel like you have to perform. You don't feel like you have to give an opinion. You don't feel like you need to be rescued.
Right. You don't have to do anything, in fact.
Yeah.
You can just sit on the bank quietly.
Yeah.
If you want to.
And be a witness.
Yeah.
And then of your own experience, of somebody else's experience. And let things be. And let yourself be a bit. And sometimes I know I put a lot of pressure on how things need to be, how we need to change, how the world needs to change. And perhaps when we have those moments where or places where there's no pressure to do any of that, but just, be witness to the truth of your experience, of others' experience, and let it be. Well, maybe we see things we didn't see before. And we'll be able to see our experience from a different angle, because there's less pressure to actually solve. You're not solving or saving anything. You're just trying, as you say, you're being, and that's probably a big thing. It's very rare. Sadly, nowadays, it's that we always have pressure in one way or another.
Expected to perform, exactly. And my experience, over the last 20 plus years in the work I was doing at TFT, was that when you can help people find their way to that place, I've sat in many dark rooms with very stressed executives, chairs, CEOs, senior people, senior executives in companies, where, for example, the NGOs are hanging off their building or attacking their customers. Their share price is being affected, their bottom line's being affected. They feel that they're being judged and shamed wrongfully. They get into a bit of a mess. And quite a moment of chaos. And I've often walked into those places, and I think by going in there and sort of bringing the pond with you, bringing that calm with you, you provide an opportunity for them to find that calm themselves. And it's often instant, but usually it takes some time, maybe 2 or 3 meetings, because they've got to trust you first. Like, who is this guy who's calm in this place when we're all going off? Why isn't he telling us what we should do? Why isn't he giving us the 10 steps to salvation? Well, my experience is I did that a few times and it all went terribly wrong, because my 10 steps are not necessarily their 10 steps. They must find the 10 steps themselves. In fact, usually it's 998,624 steps. But they must find that path. It's their journey. But they can't find it if they're in chaos. And so people used to say, how did you get this company to do that? How did you get this to happen? Well, it wasn't really that we got anything to happen. In some ways, we all just provided the space for it to come, for it to emerge from within the people who we were talking to, and they found their way. And I think the role that I can only speak from my experiences, when I was in those rooms with those company leaders, it was just about trying to get them to sit by their own pond and take a deep breath and listen to their inner wisdom. So, the world's got climate change. Lots of things are going crazy. We've got the COVID extravaganza and all the terrible suffering that's happening with that. But the reaction to that is so commonly, right, come on, let's do this, let's do that, run. And people often end up running in circles, hitting walls, doing all sorts of things.
Creating more problems than...
Creating more problems, right?
Yeah.
And yet, if you can just sit a moment and find that calm, a clearer path through all of those obstacles, over, around, barriers, through, underneath, things that stand in your way, sort of emerges for you. Sort of like, you can see a path through the wilderness. But it can only come if you've got calm in the chaos. So for me, the pond isn't just about, providing people with a nice place to sit quietly. It is part of a gentle, let's say, a more gentle effort to help bring change in the world. And, we take a lot of inspiration from Michael Leunig, and he talks about, the gentle change, being a gentle revolution. And I think it starts by helping people find their way to their own pond. So yes, the pond is a place for individuals to find calm, but it has a deeper significance as helping them navigate from that place once they get there to a better place for themselves and the world. So, I'm excited about it. We're just kicking it off. We've already got over 100 members, but, really in terms of actually getting content on there and getting events happening, that's the other thing. We events and there'll be poetry and things that help us reflect. Often poetry and art help us reflect on things in a different way. So I think there's going to be lots of stuff on there, and we do invite people to join the Pond community. It's just www.thepond.community. We invite people to come and do that. And we look forward to their thoughts, their engagement, their suggestions. People might say, could we have an event on this? Could we do something on that? We want it to be, vibrant is probably not the right word, because sitting next to a pond quietly watching dragonflies isn't necessarily a vibrant experience. But we want it to be an engaged place. And engagement can be just you and me sitting here listening to each other, or just sitting here in silence. That's engagement too. So I think there'll be a lot of silence, there'll be a lot of chat, there'll be lots of reflections, all in different and deep moments for different people. So we hope that people feel inspired to come and join us. And
I guess to say for the action-driven people, and we are all, we all want to act at some point.
Right.
It's to be seen as the foundation from which you can, if that place of calm is there, then you can act with clarity. Then you're able to really listen deeply to what's happening around you and find the right action. You can listen to your intuition. So it's what underneath, it's the calm. If you look under the water, it's really that looking for that calm. Even as it's raging and there may be great winds and even on the pond, there might be little waves there. Underneath, there's that really strong, calm place from which I think hopefully true action for you and good outcomes can come.
That's our objective. As I said, thepond.community is the website. Do feel free to go and have a look. We've got a page there. It's free to join. And we want to encourage as many people to come to the pond as possible, because we think that's the path to a better world, but a better life for all of us. We look forward to seeing you there. And if you've heard about the pond through the podcast, let us know when you come in with a little bit of a comment. We always like to know if people have been listening to our podcast, and it's not just Julien and I having a chat to ourselves, right, Julien?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much. And, there you go, the pond.community. And we look forward to talking more about the things that we're posting there and the reflections that we're having and other ways that we can, as Julien said, using that calm as a foundation, where do we go to bring change and navigate our path through the chaos to better outcomes? Thanks so much.
Thank you.